Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting Camp Cretaceous video by Jeremy James Prutchick. When Camp Cretaceous premiered on Netflix in 2020, a whole new world of adventures had opened up for Jurassic Park fans of all ages, and has become an integral chapter in the Jurassic Park franchise. Not only did it coincide with the events in Jurassic World, as well as tie in with both Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, Camp Cretaceous also expanded the lore of the Jurassic Park franchise by giving us new dinosaurs, new characters, and new adventures. Now when it comes to the first season of Camp Cretaceous, the story follows a similar structure that both Jurassic Park and Jurassic World followed. The exposition starts off slow to introduce viewers to the characters, the setting, etc., but as the story progresses, it then follows a pattern where there's a fast-paced action scene, then the characters take a break, followed by another action scene, and then another break. And while there were plenty of exciting action scenes throughout the first season, there were also other kinds of great moments too. Heartfelt moments, dramatic moments, and funny moments too. Season 1 was filled with many great moments, and that's what this video is going to be all about. I'm going to share with you my top 10 favorite moments in Season 1 of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. But first, a quick message from today's sponsor. Introducing Movie Palette. Colorful paintings of your favorite movies. Display your favorite movie as an artistic color palette. Here's how it works. Step 1, pick a movie. Step 2, digital artists will capture every scene from your chosen movie. Step 3, they'll then take the dominant color from each scene. And Step 4, put the colors in chronological order. And there you have it, a color palette of an entire movie on one canvas. Movie palettes are handcrafted in the USA and are made from environmentally friendly products. There are hundreds of movies to choose from, or you can customize your own, and they come in a variety of sizes. And as a special treat for you, enter the promo code JAMES15, all capitals, for a 15% discount on any product on the Movie Palette website. The link is in the video description. Impress your friends with Movie Palette. Now on to the feature presentation. Like Father, Like Son, from Episode 4, Things Fall Apart. I'm going to start off this list with one of the more heartfelt moments of the season. Back in the first episode of Camp Cretaceous, we learned that Darius' father Frederick had passed away, but at that point in the story, we didn't know much about him. But that all changed thanks to this flashback scene from Episode 4. Darius was showing his dad an article about craniofacial biting in theropods, an article that was posted by none other than Alan Grant. So that was a nice little Easter egg to throw in there. But what I liked most about this scene was seeing how Frederick was genuinely interested in the article. He even gave his own thoughts on it. He was just as fascinated by dinosaurs as Darius was. Like father, like son. Seeing Darius and his dad bonding over a common interest just goes to show how close they were. Then, Frederick gifted Darius with a raptor tooth necklace. Something that would become part of his signature look, but more importantly, something that would serve as a symbol of his dad. This scene was a fun blend of father and son bonding, geeking out, dad jokes, and most of all, heart. Indominus Rex attack, from Episode 5, Happy Birthday Eddie. I mainly like this scene because it fills in some of the gaps in Jurassic World's story. Here's what I mean by that. After Zack and Gray get away from the Indominus Rex, a fair amount of time passes before it appears again. So where was the Indominus Rex during its time off screen? Well, thanks to this scene in Camp Cretaceous, we got our answer. And the scene starts off with quite the surprise, when the Indominus Rex comes out of nowhere and smashes the van that Eddie stole and sends it flying off the road. After the Indominus Rex chomps down on Eddie, the scene then transitions to a stealthy escape type of chase, as the campers try to lose the Indominus Rex through a maze of storage containers. Now, in my opinion, what happens next is kinda weird, at least based on what's already been established in the story so far. If you remember in Jurassic World, the Indominus Rex could sense thermal radiation, but here in Camp Cretaceous, it can't seem to find the campers at all, until Brooklyn falls and the tablet makes some noise. Not only that, Darius is able to trick the Indominus Rex earlier in this scene when he throws a rock at a storage container, so there's a little bit of inconsistency here. The best thing I can think of is that maybe the oil drums were leaking and the oil threw off the Indominus' scent. But whatever the case may be, this scene still has its good qualities. It was action-packed, had some great shots of the Indominus Rex, and was a clever way to fill in some of the gaps in Jurassic World. Bumping into Bumpy, from Episode 5, Happy Birthday Eddie. This is a unique scene, because it does quite a lot to build on the story that I really like. The first thing I like about this scene is that it contains a reference to Jurassic World. The campers come across the same gyrosphere that Zack and Gray were inside in said movie. And there's even the dead body of the Ankylosaurus that the Indominus Rex killed. The second and biggest reason why I enjoyed this scene is that we got to see Bumpy again, who's much bigger than the last time the campers saw her. But Ben still knew it was her, and he runs right up to her and gives her the snuggles. Yes, Bumpy is as cute as ever, and the bond between Ben and Bumpy picks up right where they left off. And of course, this is also the scene that Bumpy would officially join the campers, so this is also a key scene. Finally, the third reason I enjoyed this scene is that we got to see Ben go through a little bit of development here, because he took a stand when he told everyone that Bumpy was coming with them. He wasn't asking them, he was telling them. This little act of assertiveness is what I think really got Ben's character development started, even if it was just a little bit. Baby steps, you know? Overall, this scene really helped build on the story because it had so many positive things in it. A reference to Jurassic World, some modest character development for Ben, and of course, Bumpy. And you can never go wrong with any of those things, especially Bumpy. The monorail ride, from Episode 7, Last Day of Camp. An emotional ride to say the least, filled with highs and lows. At first, it starts off as lighthearted when the campers celebrate, thinking that they're finally going home. And there's even some comedy thrown in there with Ben and his carob bars. But then the scene takes a turn and goes into some deep and heavy stuff. Darius reminisces about his dad who passed away. Kenji talks about the lack of a relationship he has with his dad. And Ben doubts that the campers will ever see each other again after it's all over. There was a lot of character development for many of the campers, but Ben in particular stood out the most in this scene, because this is where he starts to open up to the campers and talk about his struggles. This scene was another important milestone for Ben's character development. And all throughout this scene, there was beautiful music. It was a slow and sentimental rendition of the Jurassic Park theme, which really set the mood for everything that the campers were sharing with each other. And this scene goes on for nearly 8 minutes straight. It was a nice change of pace, compared to the fast-paced action scenes throughout Season 1. This scene was just packed with both quantity and quality. So let's raise our carb juice and give cheers to this great scene. Mosasaurus Lagoon, from Episode 6, Welcome to Jurassic World. If you saw the trailer for the first season before you watched Camp Cretaceous, you may remember that there was a scene with the Mosasaurus in the trailer. And you may have asked yourself, why would the campers be anywhere near the Mosasaurus? Well, life found a way when the campers got turned around in the river adventure and ended up right in the Mosasaurus Lagoon. It was a clever way to bring the campers to the Mosasaurus. They weren't there just because. Now this scene deserves a lot of credit for how the Mosasaurus was used. Unlike the familiar swim swim chomp chomp action that we're used to seeing in other Jurassic movies, or even in shark movies for that matter, the Mosasaurus displayed a behavior we've never seen before. This time, it was circling the kayaks and investigating them, just like a shark does in real life when it's curious about something. So it was cool to see the Mosasaurus act not only like a predator, but an intelligent predator. Then of course, the scene goes straight into action when the campers start paddling to get away. And during this thrilling chase, there was intense and suspenseful music playing. Not only was this scene cool because of the Mosasaurus, it also showed just how much of a badass Yasmina is when she got out of her kayak and stayed behind to distract the Mosasaurus. And then she climbed up on the cable, swung away, and she just barely escaped the jaws of the breaching Mosasaurus. This shot in particular was awesome. It's honestly one of my favorite shots in the first season. This whole scene was intense, exciting, and fun. River Adventure, from Episode 6, Welcome to Jurassic World. It's common in the Jurassic Park franchise to see dinosaurs in a jungle or sometimes in a building of sorts. But here, we got to see dinosaurs in what I think is one of the most creative and visually appealing pieces of scenery, not only in Season 1, but in all of Camp Cretaceous. When the campers first enter the glowing caves, it was as if they were transported to a whole other world. The soft music, the calm flowing water, and the bright colors of the caves. All these creative elements came together to create a soothing and beautiful ambiance. I really admire the artistry here, not just with the scenery, but with the dinosaurs too, because the Parasaurolophuses were also glowing with vibrant colors, thanks to their new bioluminescence genes. At first, I thought that was kind of bizarre, because we've never seen that before with these dinosaurs. But after seeing them blend in with the glowing caves and seeing how pretty they looked, I changed my mind rather quickly. On top of the visuals, this scene also took some time for some emotional stuff too, as Kenji tells Brooklyn to stop being so hard on Sammy, while Sammy confesses to Darius that she chose to spy for Manticore to protect her family. And finally, to kinda lighten up the mood again, we then get a bit of comedy and some cute moments from baby Bumpy. Just look at how cute she is. I like how by this point Ben's bonded so strongly with Bumpy that he wants everyone to treat her with kindness. Because there have been several unkind things said to baby Bumpy, and watching Ben's exchange with Yasmina was very funny to watch. So while this scene did have some emotion and comedy, it's the visuals that really make this scene stand out for me. Simply beautiful. Taking on Toro, from episode 8, End of the Line. What's great about Camp Cretaceous is that it introduced lots of new and special dinosaurs into the story, one of them being a Carnotaurus that the campers called Toro. And the reason why Toro's a special dinosaur is because he was a recurring dinosaur, just like Bumpy and just like Blue for instance. Throughout the first season, Toro would constantly terrorize the campers. First when Darius and Kenji were inside its paddock, then when the campers were trying to get to the monorail, and then in the underground tunnels. Toro was one relentless dinosaur. But the moment with Toro I want to talk about, the one I liked the most this season, was the final showdown at the South Dock. For one thing, I like how it starts, because after Toro smashes away the burning crate, we see this shot where he's surrounded by fire, like a demon from hell. After the campers' initial plan to distract Toro completely backfired, it was total chaos from that point on. Everyone scattered in every direction, Toro was smashing everything up. But then, Darius got a clever idea and threw the cattle prod like a spear and blew up the air tanks, engulfing the entire dock in a huge explosion. But after the smoke cleared, Toro rose from the rubble still alive. He took a direct hit from an explosion and survived. Like I said, Toro's one relentless dinosaur. But then Toro decides that he's had enough, and gives one last roar at the campers as he makes his retreat. I like this scene because it served as the climax of the season, and it also shows how much of a badass Toro is. Throughout the course of just one season, Toro's gashed his snout on his enclosure, fell dozens of feet from the monorail platform onto solid concrete, and survived an explosion. Toro is a fighter, and he has the scars to show for it. He may have lost this battle, but this wouldn't be the last time Toro would terrorize the campers. But that'll be a topic for another video. The Zipline, from episode 1, Camp Cretaceous. I enjoy this scene because it serves as an official introduction to the newly animated version of Jurassic World. And this scene is where we also see animated versions of many of the dinosaurs for the first time as well. Because remember, Camp Cretaceous is a cartoon animation, and DreamWorks Animation did an outstanding job of recreating these dinosaurs while still keeping their appearance close to their movie counterparts. Much like the river adventure scene that I discussed earlier, the zipline scene also had amazing visuals. The warm sunset and its soft glowing colors painted a beautiful picture of Isla Nublar. Another thing this scene deserves praise for is the music. A new rendition of the Jurassic Park theme was playing during this scene. In this version, the choir vocals were louder and more powerful than the instruments, which was the exact opposite in the original version, so this was a new take on a classic. And most of all, like so many other scenes this season, this scene was filled with heart. The most memorable shot from this scene is the look on Darius's face when he sees the Brachiosaurus. That look on his face perfectly encapsulates the awe and wonder that dinosaurs have instilled within people for generations. I think that older, longtime fans of Jurassic Park will especially appreciate this scene for its nostalgia factor, while younger and newer fans can appreciate this scene as a great introduction, especially if Camp Cretaceous is their first exposure to the Jurassic Park franchise overall. This scene simply has so much good things about it. Warm visuals, classic music, and tons of heart. All these things put together created a wonderful scene that both captured the majesty of Jurassic World and effectively introduced viewers to a new version of it. This scene marked the beginning of yet another great adventure, 65 million years in the making. Ben Saves the Campers, from Episode 7, Last Day of Camp. Throughout Season 1, Ben was portrayed as a timid character who was easily frightened by so many things. He was always anxious and always worried, and he knew that. As I mentioned earlier in entry number 7, the monorail ride, Ben recognized his struggles when he opened up to the other campers. He wanted to change. He wanted to stop being scared all the time. He wanted to be a better version of himself. And he would soon get the chance, in what I think is his most defining moment in the first season. In this thrilling scene, the speeding monorail was on a collision course and was being chased by pteranodons. If the campers didn't change tracks soon, they were going to crash. But while all the other campers were trying to get into the control car, Ben stayed back, curled up in a corner because he was so scared. The campers couldn't get to the controls, but Darius had an idea. He was going to get to the control car through the escape hatch. Sammy and Kenji try to talk him out of it by saying it's too dangerous, but Darius explains that he stops mid-sentence as he looks at Ben, who's still curled up in fear. Darius knew Ben could fit through the hatch, but he thought Ben would be too scared to do it. So Darius quickly backtracks and says that he's the only one who could fit. Just then, the pteranodons swoop down and slam into the monorail cars again, and everyone falls to the floor, except Ben because he's already there, curled up in a ball. Bumpy gives Ben a little nudge, and he very hesitantly looks up at the escape hatch and tells Bumpy, "You're gonna be okay." Darius gets back on his feet, but as soon as he turns around, Ben's climbing out the escape hatch. He was going for it. Darius goes after him and tries to bring him back, but Ben looks back at Darius and says, "I can do this!" Ben bravely crawls across the tops of the cars all the way to the control car, while still being chased by pteranodons. And what's also significant about this act of bravery is that Ben wasn't acting like some fearless superhero. He was still scared during all of this. And that's what true courage is all about. Being brave doesn't mean you're never afraid. Being brave means choosing to persevere despite being afraid. And that's exactly what Ben did. After Ben changed the monorail's course and saved the campers all cheered for him. And the look on his face was priceless. Ben had the courage inside of him all along. He just didn't know it yet. Not only was this scene a heroic rescue, it was also a personal victory for Ben. It really demonstrated his potential, which would lead to even more character development for Ben in future episodes to come. Bumpy hatches, from Episode 2, Secrets. Yeah, you probably saw this one coming from a mile away, especially if you are a longtime viewer of me. But yes, this is my favorite moment in Season 1, because this is the scene where we were introduced to the cute and lovable Ankylosaurus named Bumpy. I mean, just look at how cute she is, with her little baby eyes and her happy smile. I just want to give her lots of snuggles! Sorry about that, but I just can't help it. Look at her. Now, of course I enjoy this scene because baby Bumpy is just so cute, but this moment is special for other reasons too. From the moment Bumpy hatched from her egg and saw Ben, she imprinted on him, and this was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Now, believe it or not, the idea of dinosaurs bonding with humans is not a new concept, because way back in Jurassic Park, John Hammond quickly mentioned how the dinosaurs imprint on the first creature they come in contact with. But unfortunately, the scene never went anywhere else with that. But that's not all. In Jurassic World, Owen mentioned how the raptors imprinted on him. But that's the key word in these instances, mentioned. Imprinting was only mentioned in these movies. But in Camp Cretaceous, we actually got to see it happen. And it was just so adorable to watch. Bumpy was very affectionate towards Ben. If you look closely, you can see her licking Ben's cheek like a puppy. And speaking of Ben, again, this scene's also special because of him. Because when we first met Ben, he didn't like dinosaurs at all. He was grossed out just by the slime from Bumpy's egg. However, when Bumpy rolled off the incubator, Ben caught her anyway, almost instinctively, without a second thought. And as soon as Ben looked into Bumpy's eyes, a dinosaur who imprinted on him, you could say that in a certain way, he imprinted on her. The bond between Ben and Bumpy is one of the most wonderful things in Camp Cretaceous. Everything that Ben and Bumpy did together, whether it was in Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 5, or even Hidden Adventure, was all thanks to this scene. The beginning of a bond between dinosaur and man. My favorite moment in Season 1. There's so much more I want to say about Ben and Bumpy, their friendship, and why it holds such a special place in my heart, but I'll save that for another time. And on that note, this has been another Camp Cretaceous video by Jeremy James Prutchick. What are your favorite moments in the first season of Camp Cretaceous, and why? Talk about them in the comments and have some fun. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more Jurassic content, you can find lots more of it on my channel. And if you want to keep seeing more Jurassic content, subscribe. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.